Oh my goodness. Welcome to Almost 30 Podcast.
Hello, everybody. It's Lindsay and Krista. We're glad you're here. It's a good day to listen to the Almost 30 pod. If this is your first time, welcome. You have basically almost 600 episodes just at your disposal.
Homework, baby.
We talk about everything from spirituality to health and wellness to entrepreneurship to relationships, sex, everything in between. And we're just really thankful you're here. We know there's a lot out there to choose from, and it's no accident you found this particular episode with Bozoma Saint John.
Yeah, it is such a good one. I was magnetized the entire conversation, fully in it, having the best time. Boz is so amazing and magnetic, and this is a conversation we've wanted to have for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, we've wanted her on the show
time.
because she's just such a powerhouse. She's so successful. And as fate would have it, as the universe would have it, she came at the perfect time.
It's kind of wild because I was thinking when we wanted to have her on a couple years ago,
yeah,
she was still in her
corporate world.
Yes.
Yes. Hadn't written the book.
Yes. Wow.
And the book, The Urgent Life, is really about love, loss, and survival. And she took a huge leap. If you know her, she is one of the most successful women in the world. She has worked for brands like Apple, Netflix, Beats by Dre. Like, she's just been huge in the game. And for her to step away from her corporate job and to really choose herself and really look at her identity and her ego and her heart and who she really is outside of all these roles is so powerful.
Yeah, I like Krista said, you're just captivated by her presence and energy, and for reasons that I was kind of surprised. You know, she's not only beautiful, but in our conversation, I just felt so thankful she felt comfortable enough to share, you know, the season that she's in where she's spent so many years, 20 years, just at a pace that was fast and furious, you know, in a way, and really super successful, being in rooms where she was the only one that looked like she does, the only Black woman in the room on the board. And it's really amazing. And now where she's slowing down and simplifying and really being with herself in so many ways and getting clear on how she wants to feel, what she wants to do next. And it could be so confronting because you're shedding an identity that the world knows you by. And so what does that mean? And I just was so thankful that we were able to kind of get that behind the scenes, or kind of where she is now perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that's like true bravery and true vulnerability, where you're like, there's a risk here. There's a big risk. Yeah. There's a monetary risk. There's a lifestyle risk. There's relationship risk, because a lot of people want to be friends with you when you're popping and when your work is big and when you're big in the world and all of that. And to be like, no, my heart and my gut is telling me to step back, and I'm going to follow that. I mean, that's huge. And so talking about that choice and journey was so powerful. And we also talked a lot about losing her ex-husband. He died of cancer, and she also had a daughter that died. And so we talked a lot about grief and that journey of healing and that journey through all those big emotions, how she coped and how she's doing now. And I think the biggest thing that I enjoyed about our conversation was how much we laughed. You know, we talked about really hard, deep things. And that's like the goal of this show, is to, you know, go deep, but also stay light and have fun and approach life with like joy and ease and laughter. And we laughed a lot.
Yeah, and it just reminded me of that ability to have this very dynamic experience in life, you know, where you can really experience the fullness of life, even if it means you are deep in your grief process, and how that can be beautiful, and how that can be a catalyst for, because you are in it and feeling it and fully present for it, it can be a catalyst for your next creation, your next season of your life. So I just love spending time with her. She was so generous with her time. Her new book is out now, The Urgent Life. We talked about this idea of urgency, which, you know, at first when I saw the title, I was like, oh no, a book on hustle.
Yes, 100%.
No, but we laughed about that. the urgency comes from, partially comes from this season, when her husband was diagnosed with cancer, and just moving through that and the loss and the grief, and how that's changed her perspective on how she approaches life and decisions and creation. And I just really loved the shift in how I understand that word.
Yeah. And we talked about being a Black woman in the workplace, at brands like Apple Music and iTunes, Uber, Netflix, Miss Universe, Endeavor. She's worked at some of the biggest brands and companies in the world and been a huge leader in all of them. And so that experience of being pretty much the only woman and also the only Black woman is huge. Yeah. So I loved her perspective on that. And I love even hearing the stories about her in the workplace that she told were amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. As you can imagine, her confidence was seen and taken in a way that, labeled her as certain things. And she kept on keeping on. She kept it going.
Kept on keeping on.
But it didn't stop her. Is what I want to say. So, Bozoma, thank you. We adore you. And hopefully this isn't the last time that we have her on the show. But her new book, The Urgent Life, My Story of Love, Loss, and Survival, is out now.
Yes. And thank you so much for being a part of our community. We love you so much. We have our membership and we have courses and programs. If you're a podcaster or want to start a podcast, we have courses and programs for you too. Everything is at almost30.com. You can read our blog, learn more about us, get all the information there. We're on TikTok, so we drop the clips from the show on TikTok, which is amazing. It gives you a little bite-size bit of Almost 30, and then Almost 30 podcast on Instagram. And our second show, Morning Microdose, which is the best way to start your day.
So pick one of those today.
Pick one of those and you've got 24 hours in the day and you've got hundreds of hours of content. It's time.
We love you guys. Enjoy this one and we'll see you on the other side.
See you soon.
Bye.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. So when you're at your best and when your mental health is feeling good, you can really do great things. And sometimes in life, it's not always easy to feel like you have everything under control. I know for me that going to therapy has completely changed my life. It's made me more confident, more at peace, more at ease. It's improved all of my friendships and my relationships because now I have a space and place to process that feels safe and feels productive. Before, I would just kind of go to all my friends and use them as therapists, and it didn't really work. So now having a therapist and having a place that has really helped me become the best version of me, I cannot say enough good things. I have a bunch of friends and family members that also use BetterHelp, that use it regularly, that have seen the changes in their life because of it. What I love about BetterHelp is that you can text them on the app, so you can work with your therapist really regularly. They can check in on you. They can say like, hey, how's your week going? And you can have that easy access to someone that is on your side. It's convenient, it's flexible, it's affordable, and it is all online. So you don't need to leave your home. So I would love for you to try BetterHelp. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can help get you there. So betterhelp.com/almost30 today to get 15% off your first month. So that's betterhelp.com/almost30 to get 10% off your first month. Again, betterhelp.com/almost30 to get 10% off your first month, and enjoy.
If you find yourself in your single season, if you're someone who is not in a relationship, I would love to have a little chat. So I was single for about 7 years. And during that time, I resisted it so much. For about half that time, I was like, get me out of this. I was trying to find the one. I was serial dating. I was just desperately trying to find my person. And about halfway through, I realized that this season was really here for me. And I had to choose it in order to make it as powerful as it really wanted to be in my life. So I embraced this in between and went through an initiation that, in coming out the other side, not only did I find my person, which wasn't the ultimate goal, but I did. And I now find myself in such a healthy relationship. And I know it's because I took that time during my single season to come back to myself. So if you are someone who is just feeling you just want to find your soulmate already, or you're uncomfortable spending time with yourself, or you're worried about what others think about your singleness, or you feel pressure to be in a relationship, or you have anxiety that time is running out for you to find the one, or you only feel validated by being in a relationship, or maybe you're in a relationship, but you're thinking perhaps, it's time that you really come back to yourself. Maybe you abandon yourself in relationship a bunch. So I would love to invite you to the Sacredness of Being Single program. This is a program that I created in the wake of my single season, where you can release all judgment and pressure around being single, really define what your soul desires, and begin to collaborate with your soul. I want you to take back the narrative of this season for yourself and really choose you. So this is a program that you can do on your own time, but we also have a 2-hour live circle with me once a month where we can integrate, connect, heal, and come together to ask questions. We move through different exercises, writing, soul journaling. I also do sound medicine. It's really a very unique experience every single time that we gather in circle. So if you're interested in the Sacredness of Being Single program, please go to sacrednessofbeingsingle.com to learn more. I cannot wait for you to discover what's possible during the season, and I am so honored to help guide you on that path.
We've dove in and dove out 3 times because we're just getting really excited about talking, and we're already getting so much juiciness and goodness. And we were talking about the ego and your first time turning in your book and sort of how that was received. And I'd love to hear what you've learned about the ego since writing the book and also since leaving your job.
Oh, so we just gonna go right there.
Yes.
Okay. Gosh, the ego's a bitch, man. Let me tell you something. Woo! For a long time, I thought that I had to have a big ego, to just be in the spaces I'm in. I mean, obviously, imagine, right?
Yes.
Not a whole lot of, first of all, women walking around in these boardrooms, and there's certainly not Black women.
Yes.
And so I think that my ego served me then. It's like, look, I've never been shy about my abilities, who I am, where I come from. Like, I don't shy away from any of that. I don't try to blend in. I know I'm different. It's like, what's the point of being in the room if I'm just going to pretend to be like everybody else? I have always felt that. But it meant that some of ego, which sometimes is bravado, which you can call confidence, there's so many names for it. That had to lead in order to make it, in order to survive. So then comes February 2022, and I've turned in my manuscript. My editor says something to me that just shook me. She read it. And then, like, one of her first comments was like, "You're not a hero in your book." And I was like, what does that mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, I and of course, it's like, look, I got super sensitive, I'm sensitive about my shit.
It's a memoir. Yeah, it's a memoir.
Sensitive. And I thought, well, does that mean bad? She's just like, no, it's just surprising. She's like, because for somebody like you who walks around with such bigness, that you're willing to look at yourself in maybe a way and tell people something about yourself that's not pretty, it's tough, and that's surprising. She's like, it's not bad, it's good, but just so you're aware. She's like, I'm not sure if you understood that you wrote that. And it was interesting because I hadn't yet processed those comments when then I left my job, which then I had to set aside my ego in order to do that. Because for 22 years, I have been Boz from company, right? Or Boz who does this job. Very, very large stick for at least the last 10 years. And having to set aside the ego which had protected me for so long, to get deep, to get vulnerable, to peel away the layers, to actually sit with myself without anything else going on, was just devastating. And I think sometimes, like, for all of us, when you think about your identity, And I think all of us intellectually and maybe academically know that, like, okay, if I strip everything down, if I'm not a mom, or I'm not this executive, or I'm not a fitness person, or I'm not, name whatever the thing your identity is.
Gorgeous, amazing,
all of the
funny.
things, yes. And use it, yes. All that, yeah, exactly.
Sexy,
amazing, incredible, yeah. You know, if you set all that aside, who are you? I think intellectually we all know that thing, right?
Yes.
People say that to us, or, you know, you feel like, oh yeah, I know who I am. If I wasn't any of that, I know. But that's not true. Mm-hmm. I promise you it's not true. Mm-hmm. I thought I knew. I've just told you the way that I walk into rooms and I'm unashamed, unapologetic about who I am and all the da-da-da. But yet you set aside the title, this thing, this bravado I've been walking around with, because that had to come to the side too. It wasn't just like I quit a job. It was like everything I walked around with, I had to sit down. And then I was just bare, sitting there, naked.
Yeah.
And freezing. Goosebumps everywhere. Ass out. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Nipples hard.
Okay. All of the things. And being like, don't take photos. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was really, really difficult. And I would say that in the past, in the time since then, all of my activities, behaviors have been in a sort of unraveling of the last 2 decades. You know, to really get to that answer of like, well, who really am I without these things?
What inspired you to leave your job? Was there something big, or was just you knew it was time?
You know, I didn't really know it was time. It was kind of a mutual agreement, which, by the way, I'm super thankful for.
Yeah.
You know, what an amazing opportunity, you know, to be able to talk to your boss and say, hey, look,
Be real.
Yeah, I'm at this moment. I don't know. And he being like, not selfish about it, you know, and
That's leadership.
saying like, okay, let's talk about this. You might be right. And then me, wait, hold on. I'm not right. Hold on.
You're not gonna chase me.
I didn't just resign. Hold on. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's not what just happened. You know?
That is the weirdest thing when you quit and they're like, sounds good. And you're like, what?
I'm like, wait, hold on. You want me though, right? Like, I'm the best thing ever had, right? Don't forget this, you know? But it was inspired by the fact that like, I had been doing it all for the whole time. You know, it was like pandemic, panoramic, Panasonic that we were dealing with, and writing my book on Saturdays, every Saturday for 2 years, doing this big ass job, managing my mommyhood, well, sort of, you know, being a friend, trying to date, all of the things. And I felt like, okay, I'm doing it, right? Because I did write my book. I was a great mom, you know? I was doing all of the things, a good executive, like the whole thing. But then it felt like everything needed to stop. It just felt like too much. And I'm, to some degree, I mean, look, I'm just going to say I was proud of myself in that moment, you know? And it was hard to say, you know what, actually, this big ass job that everybody knows in this moment, like not to leave to go do something else. Oh, and by the way, all the folks who, when, you know, the announcement hit and the press was hot and, you know, social media and all that, and people can't wait to see what you do next. Oh my God, you're amazing. Can't wait. What's the next announcement? Ooh, I know there's a strategy. You're not going to tell us. And I'm sitting at home and I'm like, well, I have nothing to say. It's a very, very hard thing. There's more than one night when I thought about calling Ted the next day and being like, you know what? Can I take it back? Let's just call the press, tell them we made a mistake. We were kidding. Oh, it's because I'm taking a different job here at Netflix, right? I'll be the chief design officer. You know? And obviously that is all based on just an unknowing, right, of what is in the future. And potentially that's also, I think, part of what I've grappled with in the 10 years since my husband died, or 9 years since he died, that the unknowing is such a difficult thing. You know, and I thought I had a handle on it. I didn't know I didn't have a handle on it until I left my job.
We spend so much energy trying to figure out or know. Because I think just as humans, we're so uncomfortable with the unknown, with kind of that abyss.
Yes.
At the beginning of any process, after you quit the job and then you enter into this new period, and it's it's really terrifying. Was there like that? Did you have faith? Were you being tested? Like, I guess, what was that feeling when you quit? Because I guess we have an audience too where so many people are having those like reckoning moments of like, actually what I've been doing, the pace at which I've been going, this just doesn't feel aligned, and I'm ready to take that leap of faith.
Yes.
But it's so terrifying.
It's so terrifying.
How did you get
through? I don't
through?
know why people think it's easy.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
Well, it sounds easy,
It
right?
sounds
You're like,
easy. It's like,
leap
oh,
of faith sounds romantic.
Of course.
Let's do it.
And you know what? And also because we've romanticized this idea of like, well, of course, I'm the best, and so I can do anything. I could just quit and do something else.
Yes.
We've romanticized that idea. And so when you're actually faced with it, maybe you feel like a failure because you can't go through with it. You know? And for me, it just felt like too much. I don't know how else to explain it. It felt like too much, and something had to give. And the biggest thing had to give. The biggest part of my identity had to give. You know, that job that everyone talked about.
Yeah, the world knew you as.
Yeah, it had to give. Sure. And I think part of it also, thinking about, you know, the sort of the leap of faith is that I think I've been knowing that something needed to change. You know, that I've been doing too much. That the world and the corporate space served me for some time, and it was good. But my own evolution is taking me in a different direction. And so sometimes you just gotta let go. Yeah. You know? And I didn't know what was gonna happen. I was like, I didn't know. It was very, very strange for me, you know, because I always have had a plan. Like, not that like I preach against the 5 and 10 year plans, because I think they inhibit you from like, you know, taking the risks. But that doesn't mean that I haven't had a next step. Like, I've always known, like, okay, I may not know 10 steps ahead, but I know 1 step ahead, you know? And so to stand there and not know what the next step is and still leave, that was the hard part. But I knew it in my spirit that was the right thing to do. And I can't sit here now and tell you that I'm sure that was the right step. I just have faith that it was. And I hope that one day I'm able to sit back and say, you know, that was a magical moment in February 2022 when I let it all go. And then it allowed the space for this other amazing thing to happen. Like, that's what I have faith about. That the big thing is yet to come. Yes, of course, I have accolades. I have all the things from a prior life, from a prior me. And now it's time to open and let something else in.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing when you're doing something that's so right for you and so aligned, like leaving in February 2022, and then you leave and you're wrestling with your ego and your actual self, and you're figuring out who you are, and you do something you know that's right for you, but it makes you really depressed. Yeah. And it's really painful. Right? You know, where you're like, I chose this, and now I'm no idea who I am. I feel like I have no identity. I feel like it's such an interesting thing, but when you know, and when the soul knows, that's like the carrier. Yeah. You know, that is like, you're like, soul, I know this is hard and I know this hurts, but I know I trust you and I'm going to follow you. Yes. So did you have moments after that where you're like, oh my God, I feel like I don't know who I am? And like, what was the hard moments? Like, what were those like?
Yeah. Oh gosh, you just made me think of something that, I've chosen my identity so many times. You know, not that anybody gave them to me. Of course, they're the ones that the world gives you. Yeah. I'm Black. I'm a woman. I'm blah, blah, right? But I have chosen my identity in many ways. I'm badass Boz because I chose that. I decided that. You know, and then I started acting like that, and then people started calling me that. And I think I've done that so much. And even the titles and identities that I didn't want, but I knew were coming. Widow. I knew was coming. I didn't want it, but I knew it was going to come. And then I had to accept it when it did. Right? So the decision to remove a title is so much harder because assuming one is your power. So I had to decide that it was also powerful to remove one. That it wasn't a lessening of me. It was very powerful to say, you know what? I'm no longer this. Put it aside. You know, and sometimes that comes in the form of many things. You know, maybe you no longer want to be a wife. Ooh. You know, and what's the world going to think of that? But how powerful to decide for yourself that you no longer want this title. I'm going to put it aside. And I'm just going to be something else. And maybe you don't have that. Maybe it's just a blank statement right now, you know? Because yes, for me, setting aside the title of executive felt bad. But at the same time, I have found power in saying, no, I decided that though. Liberating. I decided to put that aside. Do I have something else to fill in with? No. But maybe I don't need to. Maybe I was carrying around way too many titles. Maybe that's what actually was keeping me from doing the thing I'm supposed to do, because it was too heavy, walking around with all these burdens. You know, maybe the effort of the last 2 decades of picking up titles was actually the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like greed. I walked around gathering all of these things and blah, 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 blah. And then before you know it, it made me slow and cumbersome. Over here lugging this big ass burden.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it is in today, as I sit here, I consider it to be so much more powerful to say, I took that and put it aside. It was slowing me down. So I'm lighter for it. I can feel it in my spirit. I'm lighter. You know, like, I think one of the tests for me is when I think about picking it back up.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
You know, it's like having a chore that you just keep putting off. You know what I'm saying? It's on your list and you know you should do it, but you're like, oh, not yet. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
And then you're like, how did I do that for so long?
How did I do that for so long? Because when you put it down, you're just like, oh, shit, that was so heavy.
Yeah.
You know? And so that for me has now, in those moments of doubt, in those moments where I wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night, like, I ain't got no job. Oh my God. You know, in those moments where I'm just like at a cocktail party, so, what do? In those moments, I have to consider, what would it feel like to pick it back up? And as soon as that thing hits and I'm like, ooh, no, girl, bitch, I do nothing. How about that?
Yeah.
that's my job right now. Nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because the thing is that is what has helped me to stay sane. That's what keeps the regret at bay. Because when I think about picking it back up, my whole soul dissipates.
Yep. That's an important feeling to be in touch with. Because I don't think, I think the ego kind of runs a lot of people's lives in that way, where they're like, yeah, but the money or the accolades or the respect, whatever it is.
Yes.
But for you to be so in touch with that feeling now, do you feel as though, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm curious about, you know, your experience in losing your husband and that time of your life. Can you pinpoint like the perspective shifts, you know, that kind of got you to this place of like, this is what's really important, actually?
Yes. Oof. Sometimes it doesn't take a lot of time to make a pivot. You know, sometimes it's really sharp and you just have to do it for survival or for whatever, right? It's like, I think that happens to a lot of people where everything is going jolly and wonderful, and then a pivot happens and you're like, oh, shoot, I have to change my perspective on this thing because now life is different. You know, and not by your choice. Again, like, remember, we're saying that like when you choose an identity, it feels very powerful. Most of us, like, we're like, yes, I decided to do this and burr. When something is given to you or shoved on you, that does not feel powerful. You feel put upon. Or then when you have to decide to put something down, that does not feel powerful because you're like, oh my God, I lost. You know?
Yes.
But in that process of when my husband was diagnosed with cancer, I will not say that that's the moment that the pivot happened, because unfortunately both of us had already dealt with our mothers having been diagnosed with cancer. My mother was finishing her second round of cancer, you know, so it wasn't a stranger to us, and both of them were survivors. And so it didn't feel like a death sentence. It felt like an interruption, You know, and sometimes that's even more dangerous because you're not aware of the moment. I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, May 2013, we should have stopped the world. We should have stopped everything. And we didn't. You know, because we didn't know.
Yeah.
We didn't know what kind of shift that moment was going to bring in our lives. We did not know. And so the ways that my perspective changed weren't at diagnosis. It wasn't even while he was in treatment. It wasn't when he had to not go to the play date because he felt too sick. Or I remember Lael's 4th birthday. You know, we did in a park, all the little kids running around. You know, we had one of those bouncy houses and we, you know, all the things. And we were cutting her cake and I can see it in the video now so clearly. I didn't see it then, you know, the pain in his face. Like he was just trying to be there. Yeah. And I remember after like cutting the cake, we were sitting over to the side and he was just like, I could tell he was in pain. And I was like, Tina should take you home. Tina's my cousin. Everybody got a cousin Tina. Cousin Tina. Literally everybody has a cousin Tina. So I was like, you know, Tina, take him home. And in that moment, I think my perspective started to change. You know, it was the awareness that he wouldn't be able to do everything. But I didn't realize that the small moments also needed to have the attention. It really wasn't until his oncologist said that his cancer would be terminal that was the sharp turn. Yeah. Everything else had felt kind of gradual. And I think we are okay in life with that. You know, small changes, small things that happen. It's like stepping into colder and colder water. You know, it's like you put your toe in and you get acclimated, and then you're up to your knees, you acclimate, and you're up to your elbows. You know, it's like before you know it, you're submerged and you feel fine. You know, but yet, oh my God, you went from like standing on the land to being submerged in water. It's a big difference. But you're okay with that change. This feels like somebody yanked you off the side and put you underwater and then held you there. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't let you breathe. That's what it felt like in October. You know, and for me, it was the beginning of a perspective change because I felt powerless. I felt like it wasn't fair what I had done to deserve it. Mm-hmm. You know, it felt like grabbing small moments and trying to hold on to them, and they just wouldn't stay. And being mad at that, even though that's been my whole life. That's our whole lives. We do things every day that we just go away, you know? Yeah. But then here I was trying to, it reminded me of, do you remember this? There was once I don't know if it was a game show. I don't know where I get this image from. I think it's a game show. Yeah. You know where they're standing in like a clear cylinder and then the money is falling down and they're trying to grab it?
Yes. I forget what it's called, but
it's like so patronizing if you think about it.
I know,
they're
really
just like,
you get the money,
monkey. But and here we are on the sidelines watching on TV like, bend down, it's like as if you wouldn't be up in there talking about grabbing the air. You know what I mean? You wouldn't bend down either. You know what I'm saying? You're so confused. But the truth is that that's what life felt like. You know, it felt like trying to grab all the things, like staring up into the sky and saying, ooh, what's going to drop next? Oh my God, let me grab that. Yeah. You know? Mm-hmm. And for me, that perspective change meant that I was more appreciative of the everyday mundane. Mm-hmm. You know, there's something to having physical reminders of that shit. You know, every day Peter woke up and something was wrong. Something was missing. And so it meant that, like, if it was Tuesday and he could walk, we needed to walk somewhere. Because I don't know if we wake up tomorrow and he's going to be able to do that. Yeah. That's what that was like. And the habit of that, even though it wasn't a long produced habit, you know, because he quickly lost a lot of things. And then obviously at the end of his life, it didn't stop me from continuing that afterwards. You know, I won't pretend like every single moment I'm like, oh yes, let me just recognize this moment and be joyous. you know?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something. I love the small moments. There are lots of things where it's like, look, I don't need to be at the Super Bowl. You know, I can be sitting on the couch watching the game and it's okay. You know, it's like the small things truly do matter. And I love the joy in finding them. It's not always the big things that are going to make life. It's the small, small little things.
Yeah, and that's more the soul, you know, versus the ego.
Yeah.
Because the ego's like accolades, Super Bowl, and then the soul is like, oh, being able to walk down the street this morning, you know, with my husband.
Yes.
I remember reading, and I think it was in the description that you were all going to separate before.
Yeah.
So what was that, you know, what was that like? Like, how did that feel to be so sure and be like, we're separating, this is how it's going, and then have this turn your world upside down? And was it re-falling in love? Like, tell me more about that.
Yes. What drama.
Uh-huh.
Look, the soap opera of life.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I love that word that you said, sure.
Because isn't it funny? It's kind of protective.
Isn't it though?
You're like, we're good.
Like, I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and then what happens again, like in the middle of the night when you wake up and you're like, oh, no, sorry, you know what I mean? You want to take it back.
Totally.
You know, and I was sure when I asked him for separation. I was sure. I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm moving on from this relationship. I think I'm good. I'm done it now. We've been married a decade. It's good. You know? And it hurt him so much. But he went along with it. I think out of love for me, for sure. He wasn't going to fight me. We weren't going to become enemies. And he said that, which I also appreciated. But it was him. That was him. You know, he would be like, okay, you want me to cut off my left leg. All right, let me figure out how I'm going to do that. And I didn't appreciate that enough. There's not a lot of people like that in the world. And he was one. And when we separated, it was very complicated because I wanted to explore, you know what I mean? I want to be outside.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, freedom! I'm a single lady in the world, you know? And I was like, you be a single man too. You be single, I'll be single. We friends.
Totally.
We're going double dates. which never happened, by the way. Okay?
She's torturing me.
Exactly. He was like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? You know,
You can't brainwash
you
me.
can't do this. Yes. And he just wouldn't do it. And I was so pissed off, you know, with him for like not exploring his singleness. And he was wearing his ring, and I was pissed at that. I mean, we did that for 3 years, man. We did that for almost 3 years. And then when he was diagnosed, or right before he was diagnosed, he was in a relationship with a wonderful woman who I really liked. So again, it's just the complications of relationships, you know, because we weren't divorced. Like, we were kind of happily separated. And I liked her for him. But when the oncologist said it was terminal, it changed everything. It really did. You know, it's like, man, all of that regret starts running in. Think about all the things that you should have done, could have done, would have done. You know, and why is it that it takes that in order to consider? And I was mad at myself. And I felt cliche, you know, for having to have something like that happen. I thought it was bigger than that. I thought I was sure. And so I could be like, okay, this is happening. This is a terrible thing, but I'm still sure in the decision because it was the right decision. No, I started questioning everything, all the things. How cliche is that? You'd have to really be confronted with death in order to consider whether or not you made the right call? I thought I was more advanced, more evolved. Yeah. But no, I wasn't. And maybe some of us aren't. You know? And so, yeah, in that moment, it became days of our lives. It became like a very big soap, you know, where I'm over here like the jealous ex-wife, you know, looking at them like, why is she touching him like that? Girl, you drove him over there. You told him to go over there. You don't have to remind myself. Whispering to my girlfriends. His family didn't like me so much during that time. You know? But then I became his main caregiver. So then guess what? They had to like me. Oh, and then his mama and his dad had to move in with me. Oh, imagine that. Now I'm over here, the sort of ex, the new girl over there. His parents are with me. they're looking at me like, you should have never left him.
Right.
It was so soapy. But at the end, and this is going to sound so corny, but I'm going to say it anyway. Love conquers everything. It really does. You know, if you really look at it and you're brave enough, oh Lord, to look at it in the face and say all of the things, you know, because there is nothing else, really. You can't pretend to feel anything else. And so in that moment, when I was in that hospital room looking at him, and I was like, fuck it. Yo, look, like, I think we got to get back together. Like, this is like, I don't want this. I don't want to be apart. And the fact that he had a list of things he wanted me to accomplish, one of them was to cancel the divorce. You know, and I thought, well, what's the point of that anyway? You know, it's like, you don't have much time. What's the point? Like, why are we worried about that? But he decided to do all of the things. He proposed again. We watched our wedding video again. We toasted with some Hostess cupcakes. There was no wedding cake. But this time, how beautiful, because Lael got to watch the video with us. You know, we got to point out the funny tributes, and my aunt, who instead of saying Peter and Bose said Peter and Paul, and we were like, what is going on here?
Everyone's got an aunt like that.
Okay, exactly. I was like, oh, somebody grab her. Like, why does she have someone? Take the mic, you know?
You're like, that's my family.
And it's on damn video. You ruined the wedding video with that, you know? But it's she really said that though. She really said, and she will not live it down. You know what I mean?
You know me?
Exactly. But it's just, you know, love, you know. Sometimes we have to be brave enough to admit that it's not perfect. Admit that we're not perfect. Admit that we're wrong. Admit that maybe your jealousy maybe does point you in the right direction sometimes. Ooh. You know, that if you're feeling some kind of feelings all up in there in your gut and it keeps coming back, maybe you need to examine that. And that's what I had to do. And it was very scary to say to him, you know, because he could reject me, of course. Sure. He could say, oh, really? I'm on my deathbed and now you want to get back together? Like, oh, you want to kick out sweet little yoga instructor over here so that you can no, you already betrayed me. He could have said all of those things, but he didn't. You know, and so it gave me such, oh God, what a gift. You know, what a gift. Not just in, like, of course, him giving me that love to the end, which I don't even have the words to articulate what that means. But also the gift of knowing that, like, when it's really love, none of that shit ever matters. Yeah. All the mistakes don't matter. The arguments don't matter. The hate doesn't matter. The jealousy doesn't matter. The small things don't matter. The big things don't matter. Your mama don't matter. All of it. None of it matters. If it's for real, it's true. Like, go get it. You know, if it's for real, don't hold back. Don't pretend like it doesn't. Don't let your ego, back to the ego, don't let your ego keep you from asking for it. Because that's what I had to do. I had to ask him for it, and he gave it. What a gift.
So this year I made the commitment to eat more meals at home. What I noticed is that it was a lot harder for me to feel nourished and healthy and like I was on track for my goals when I was eating out so much. But my negotiation that I had with myself was that I would cook my meals at home and have my friends over. So instead of going out to dinner, we could be at my house, we could enjoy a meal, we could relax inside, which is the best, and we would use HelloFresh. So HelloFresh is amazing. It's farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. So I love it, firstly, because it's farm fresh. I love that the ingredients feel super nourishing and healthy. I love that it's pre-portioned. So being someone that doesn't cook often, but only does when I'm pretty much using HelloFresh, I love that I don't waste any ingredients. And then I also really love that it's seasonal. So something that we talk about a lot on the podcast is that we want to eat as seasonally as possible. This is really powerful from an Ayurvedic perspective and just from a evolutionary standpoint. It's really, really good to eat with the seasons. So HelloFresh can really, really support you in not going to the grocery store and eating farm fresh and eating meals delivered right to your door.
I highly suggest making meals for your friends or for people that you love, or even for yourself on a solo self-care date. So no matter your lifestyle or meal preference, HelloFresh has the recipes just for you. So I'm plant-based, so they have amazing things that I can use. And I know Lindsay loves their really, really fit and wholesome meals. You can also get family ones as well. You can only find quality ingredients in HelloFresh's recipes. In fact, the ingredients really travel from the farm to your door in less than 7 days, which is incredible. That's actually a shorter time than a lot of grocery stores. And I've noticed that the ingredients at grocery stores that I buy don't seem as interesting or fresh as the ones that I get from HelloFresh. So it's been incredible to help me reach my goals of eating more at home, to connecting with community and friends at my house, and also to save money and eat really, really well. I love HelloFresh and I'm excited for you to try. So I'd love for you guys to try. I'd love for you to send me pictures of you and your friends making HelloFresh at home, or your family or the people that you love, so we can just kind of be at home eating healthy meals together. Go to HelloFresh.com/65almost30 and use code 65almost30 for 65% off plus free shipping. Yes, that is 65% off. So not only is this saving you money normally, but it's going to save you a lot of money. And I'm so excited for you to try. I swear by it. So HelloFresh.com/65almost30 and use code 65almost30 for 65% off plus free shipping. It's really like risk-free there. So it's HelloFresh.com/65almost30 and use code 65almost30 for 65% off and free shipping. Enjoy HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. So if you come to my kitchen and you were to look in my pantry, you would see all of my Symbiotica supplements that I've been taking. And I have to say that I feel better in my body and about my health than I have in a really, really long time. I feel really healthy. I feel really energized, and I feel super, super excited and happy about life. And I think it is a lot because I've been consistently taking Symbiotica for a long time. And I want to tell you about some of the reasons why I love Symbiotica so much. So what I love about Symbiotica is that they have liposomal delivery. So the liposomal delivery supplements that they have are things like magnesium, activated charcoal, their heart health, super greens, vitamin C. And the liposomal delivery is very unique and not something I incorporated into my health and wellness routine until Symbiotica. So the liposomes are used to encapsulate and transport really active ingredients in the supplements to locations of the body where they're most effectively absorbed. So basically, it really prevents the GI tract from the harsh acidic conditions, which can really compromise the nutrients' viability. So normally when you take a supplement, it goes through your digestive system, and sometimes the GI tract, which is really acidic for our digestion, can really make the supplements not as viable or used by the body. So when you have the liposomal delivery of the supplements from Symbiotica, it provides this really, really effective way for your body to absorb and use the nutrients in a way that's going to be best for you. So I am obsessed with their magnesium. The magnesium is the best I've ever taken. And magnesium is, you guys know, my go-to favorite thing. It helps with your brain. It's helped me with my mood. It's helped me with my nervous system to stay calm and feel good in my body. And their magnesium is a liposomal delivery, and it's vanilla cream flavored. It is like an amazing treat dessert. I put it on my oatmeal. I swear it's everything. I also bring the Super Greens liposomal delivery when I travel so that I can have a really good greens with me when I go. But they have so many amazing products. They have a really powerful vitamin D. They have a vitamin B12 that I take as someone who's plant-based. One of their new products is their metabolic health, which is really good if you're looking to feel really good in your body. And they also have inflammatory health, which is going to be powerful for people that feel like they're inflamed. So Symbiotica has it all. They're super mindful about quality, and we love it. So you can use code almost30 to get 15% off your Symbiotica order. And what I really love and what I really suggest is that you should use one of their bundles. So you can use and create a bundle at Symbiotica and get 45% off your bundle with code almost30. So that's 45% off your Symbiotica bundle when you use code almost30. So that means you're going to get all the products that you want, and you're going to save a lot of freaking money. So Symbiotica.com, use code almost30 to get 15% off your order, or 45% off your bundle order. Again, Symbiotica, and the code is almost30.
How has your grieving process presented? Like, how have you met that?
Oof.
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
I know it's been 9 years.
Yeah.
But like
the grief is
I can't even imagine the
Grief doesn't care.
Yeah, it does not care at all. You know, whoever said that time heals all wounds, I want to know what wound they were talking about.
who
I
said
really
that?
want to understand. Were they talking about like maybe they're talking about a little scratch?
Physical
Were they
wounds.
talking about like a
Like,
paper
it's
cut?
still a scar.
It's a paper cut, right? Because this cannot be like that wound that I'm talking about. Cannot be, because there are moments where it still steals my breath. There are moments where like I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, like this can't be life. And then there are times when it just feels like it was a million years away, you know, where it feels light, where I can think about him and laugh, you know, or like my daughter has so many of his mannerisms. It's wild. It's crazy, you know? And sometimes, like, especially as she's getting older, they're becoming more pronounced. Wow. It's so weird, you know? Or like certain things that she likes or doesn't like that are his. God, I literally am just like, see, this is what we're talking about. This is the nature part. You know what I'm saying? This is not nurture, because she would not know that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like what?
Oh my God. Oh, I have a million examples. She is as forgiving as he is. She's quick with it. You know, she didn't learn that from me. I'll hold a damn grudge. No, but she's quick. She's quick with it.
Wow.
You know? Or the way that she sits. You know? He liked to sit on the ground with his legs crossed. But his is the type that like knees touch the ground.
Like flexibility in the hips.
Look, I don't have any of that. Look, my hip flexors are like, bitch, get up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Stand up.
Yeah.
This is not comfortable for you. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. Or, you know, it's, I don't know. There's so many things. There's so many things. But I love some of that. And some of it causes me pain.
Sure.
You know, when I see it in her, it makes me miss him, you know? Yeah. And then there are a lot of times when I think about the fact that life couldn't be the way it is without his death. And that feels guilty too. You know, that some of the risks I've taken, I wouldn't have taken if he was alive. And that, that's a different type of, that's another book.
Yes.
But, you know, it's like, it's a different type of grief because there is guilt associated with it.
Yeah.
You know, and knowing that with him, I would not have achieved. I know that for sure. You know? And so it makes me feel guilty because I'm like, but you wouldn't have made these decisions if he was alive? Probably not.
And then when you pull up, you know, it's like if we're thinking about, if we believe in soul contracts, something like that, it's like a part of your contract with him though was you know, it's, I'm not talking about the illness, but it's like, there's something there that there was an agreement that he would be a catalyst in some way to your success.
Correct.
You know, so it's like, it's really beautiful. You know, I know there's so many, it's so complex and the emotional aspect of it is so complex, but sometimes I like to just be like, okay, let me pull up and out for a second and understand on a soul level what's happening.
Yes.
And knowing that, or I believe his soul lives on. Yes. You know, and that there was just this like beautiful, perfect.
Oh, yes. Well, there's a part of my book where I talk about the signs that I've seen post his death. And I know that's like sometime frou-frou and, you know, all of that. But look, they are clear as day to me. And I've been so fortunate to sometimes catch them on camera so I can prove it.
What are they?
You know, oh gosh, girl, oh my God. Let me tell you this story.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay.
This is what I like.
So let me tell you. So Peter died on December 11th, 2013, right?
Oh, honey,
yeah, we're right there.
Yeah.
He wanted to be cremated, much to his family's anger, but I went ahead and did it, right? Our daughter Eve had been cremated as well. She was my first daughter, who had died a couple of years before him. And we had put her ashes at the church where we held her funeral. The priest there was wonderful. You know, we didn't really know what to do with her. You know, is that weird to say?
No.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it felt weird to bury her in like where, you know? So we left her in the crypt for a while. And when Peter knew that he was going to die, he was like, okay, now I know. You're going to bury her with me in the family plot in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, but okay, I will do my best. So when he died, cremated him, but I wasn't ready, so I put his ashes in the crypt alongside with her at the church. And I was like, here, y'all keep yourselves company while I figure this out. And it took me about 6 months actually to decide to bury him or them. And on our drive from New York, where we were living, to Massachusetts, which is where the family plot is, in the car with me, which now I look back and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I had his ashes, Eve's ashes, Lael was in the car, my mother, and my best friend. And so I'm driving, by the way. Why am I driving? I don't know.
That's
but I'm the one driving.
hilarious,
Okay?
actually.
Why? Like, what the fuck? It's
The dynamics still don't change.
Look, okay, exactly. Why am I driving? Okay, but whatever. Hindsight. So I'm driving with like what should be probably like the worst situation. It's like I think about it now. I'm just like, yo, that was wild. So I'm driving the car. I got my husband and my daughter's ashes in the back. My daughter's there. My mother's there. My best friend. And I was fine, actually. We're listening to music. We're having conversations as if it's a normal day, as if it's a normal drive up the East Coast. And as we're approaching Worcester, which is where he was from, I started to feel the pressure and the anxiety start to build, right? Now, I couldn't really articulate it, but, I just started to get fidgety and a little cranky and all the things. And my best friend, Justina, was sitting in the front. By the way, brilliant woman, because she'd also arranged for us to take a trip to Greece right after. Like, literally, my mother and Lael were going to drop us off at Boston. We were going to run off to Greece. Like, I mean, who? Like, I don't think I've still thanked her for that. I should thank her for that. Because, like, what foresight, Wow. Anyway, I'm starting to get more and more anxious. Justina is noticing my twitching happening. And she's like, pull over. It's okay. Pull over. I'll take over. And I'm like, nah, it's okay. I got it. It's getting worse by the second. Okay. So eventually I'm just like, okay, I recognize myself. I'm going to pull over. So I'm pulling over onto the shoulder. And as I'm doing that, a car comes speeding by. Okay. Almost like hitting us. I don't know where in the hell. I had not seen this car behind me, and why is it going so fast, right? But it's like it's fast enough and close enough that I'm like, oh my God, and I have to look at it. The license plate says Pete.
I just got goosebumps. Wow.
And you better believe this looked like a freaking, I don't know, Die Hard 3. I was like, swerve back into the highway, and I am now chasing this car. Because I'm like, that says Pete. Like, I'm going to follow. It was a
like
Ford
he's
Taurus.
In the car.
He had to be in the car. I mean, why does the license plate say Pete?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
This is all a joke. He's in the car.
Look, he's in the car. It's got to be him driving the car. So, and Justina, thank God for her brilliance, takes out her phone and takes a picture.
Wow.
So I'm chasing this car, okay? Fast as hell, like a bat out of hell. It gets off on the Worcester exit.
No way.
And disappears. I promise on everything that is what happened. Justina got it on camera. And as I got off on the exit, of course, like I'm now all the adrenaline and the crying and the things. And I was like, you know what? I am supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be taking these two over to their resting place. Peter was not going to let me pull over to the side of the car and have a freaking breakdown, because that's what was going to happen. If I had stopped that car and gotten out, there's no way I was getting back in. Like, I don't think there would have been a force on the planet that would have allowed me to get back into the car and continue driving. I needed that sign. I needed that push that said, chase this car, go this way. And it got off on our exit.
Wow.
And so even that day, by the time we got there, you can imagine, we were all shaking. Everybody in the car. I mean, I don't even know what we looked like when we got out. We must have looked like a hot mess. You know what I'm saying? Because we were all like, oh my God. Exactly. Like, hair out to here. It was like a 1980s like bad movie. It's like all spiked hair up like, because we had just seen something.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big, big thing. And I also loved it. I loved it. And there are times I loved when, you prayed before we started talking, because sometimes I use that time to ask for it. I'm like, look, I need you to come here, okay? And do whatever you need to do to straighten this thing out.
Yeah.
Or just give me a sign. Let me just see some. You know what I'm saying? If you could just let this flame wiggle just a little bit, then I'll know. Sometimes I'll be staring at the flame and nothing happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But oftentimes when I ask for a sign, it doesn't come the way I want it to, but it comes anyway. And it's such a beautiful thing. It makes me so, so happy. So I do believe in another realm. I believe in the fact that we are connected, that it never, ever goes away. And I think to some degree, even though I can grieve him in body, there's a peace, for sure, for peace and some joy, in knowing that like something is still around, some part of him is still around. And if I may, I'll also say this, which is that, and this is a little more graphic and maybe more morbid, but I'll go there anyway, which is that, in that last day, as he slowed and breathing slowed and all of that, it was still him, like it was just him, just skinnier and sicker. But the moment he died, he was gone. And I know that for sure. It was like, look, I was there. I had my hand on his chest, my head next to his. I saw it. And he was gone. And so there's something to the spirit and what it makes of us and how we are, and that when it disappears from you, it is no longer you. And I think that was also a gift for me to understand that, to actually see it, and not think that like, gosh, his body is still him. That the spirit had been removed and gone somewhere else. And so now it makes it easier for me when I feel him somewhere else or something else happens. I'm like, that was him. Because he was no longer in that body that was on the bed. He wasn't there. I saw it myself. He was gone. So it does make grief to some degree easier, because I'm able to understand really physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually that he exists in a different plane.
Yes. How did his passing help you understand, or what was that relationship between his passing and your daughter's passing?
Gosh, that's a great question. What is the difference? I was mad at God both times.
Yeah.
Really, really pissed off.
Yeah.
To some degree, I'm still mad. God knows. We've talked about it.
Yeah. I'm like, this anger's for you to deal with.
Look, exactly. This is not my anger. This is your anger. Okay. This is you, God.
It's like, I committed to coming to this earth, to doing this stuff, and you're going to make it a little hard for me.
Okay, look. Okay, God, this is not my fault.
Loving me means making it all easy.
Exactly. Like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, that was another thing that, like, by the way, cousin Tina,
yes,
who I love and adore, she has a hard time with that. She's like, you can't be mad at God. I'm like, no, I'm pissed off.
Yeah,
I'm pissed at God for this. She's like, no, there's a reason for everything. No, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes there isn't. And I don't believe there is. And I can have that. And so when I think about it, it's interesting because Lael and Eve could not exist together. There's no possibility. The biology doesn't work. Because I got pregnant with Lael 3 months after Eve died. And it was before Eve would have been born. So they would not be able to exist together. So which one would I choose? When I think of that, it is a very different grief for Eve. Because there's no possibility for her to live and for Lael to live. And so in order to love Lael, I have to have let go of Eve. So the grief is different in that. You know, for Peter, I have not yet found love like him. I think I'm on my way, but I've not yet found it. And so I wonder if I'll feel the same way with new love. You know, will I feel like, oh man, I wouldn't have been able to experience this if Peter was still alive? Because maybe the two couldn't exist.
Sure.
So they are different in that way. I also know that, you know, at least the way I experienced it physically was so different, right? Like, I describe this in my book, but those moments before I gave birth to Eve, she died on the day she was born. You know, it's like those moments, she was fighting. I felt it. I knew it. You know, and Peter was not fighting at the end. He was okay with going. And so physically knowing those two truths is also very different. You know, and I'm sure death in many ways to many different people is all kinds of things. You know, it's like, I don't believe everyone experiences it the same. Of course not, you know? But for me, I think it is, they are such different experiences that the griefs feel different. My memories of their experiences are different. It doesn't feel compounding though. I've had people ask me that, you know, it's like, oh gosh, you lost this person and you lost this person, you lost this person. Like that must just be, and I was like, but it doesn't feel compounding. It feels different.
Yeah.
You know? So to some degree, maybe that's a gift too. You know, that it doesn't feel like the whole world is like falling in on me. Like I can almost like compartmentalize this death versus that death.
Sure.
They are not stacked on top of each other. They're just different on the same plane, but just different.
One of my commitments this year was to buy fewer, better pieces. And I have completely changed my whole wardrobe to high quality pieces that I'm going to wear forever. And I've felt so much better in my body, in my clothes, out with people. It's really, really increased my confidence in a major way. And it's also made me feel much more like an adult. And it's also really helped establish this foundation of like beautiful fashion that I'm really, really excited about, that I feel really proud in. So my fit right now is these kind of baggy jeans that I'll wear every day that get washed maybe once a month. And then this really beautiful oversized sweater from Jenny Kane that I love so much. It's their oversized cotton pullover. I'll like tuck it in the front. It's like a cream, super, super soft. And I wear it most days of the week. It looks good on Zoom calls. It looks good out. I can throw a jacket or a leather jacket over it. It's just incredible. It is so, so, so soft. And then on my feet, my favorite thing is the oiled leather mule. I have them in natural, and it's this like light creamy color that just peeks out the bottom of my jeans that I can wear with a bunch of different pieces. That's perfect for work or perfect for meetings, perfect for anything. It's kind of like the updated ballet flat, much cooler, made in Italy. Really, really nice and really, really comfortable. It's like a wardrobe staple. So I really, really love Jenny Kane. They are a beautiful, like California style brand that has really gorgeous pieces that are gonna last you forever. They have really beautiful home items, but I love to get their sweaters and mix and match with really cozy, comfortable things. Their shoes are also my favorite. I've had a bunch for a lot of different seasons. And if you're looking to invest in high quality pieces that are going to last you forever, that are going to up-level your wardrobe, but also be comfortable, because that's where I'm at right now, is comfort is key. I highly suggest Jenny Kane. I buy Jenny Kane products for friends because it's a really beautiful gift. And I think with our code, it's going to help you to up-level your wardrobe and feel really good about what you're wearing. I love the oversized cotton pullover, which is gorgeous. Just tuck it in any pants. You're going to look chic and amazing. I love the oiled leather mules. I get them in natural. You can see them on my Instagram. I'm posting them all the time. So I'm excited for you guys to try out Jenny Kane if you've never experienced the quality, the beauty, the grace, the elegance, the richness, the chicness. It's truly, truly incredible. So you can go to jennykane.com/almost30 and get 15% off with promo code almost30. So jennykane.com/almost30 and use code almost30 for 15% off. And Jenny is JENNIKAYNE. That's JENNIKAYNE. JennyKain.com/almost30 and use code almost30 and get yourself a really beautiful piece that's going to last you forever, make you feel up-leveled, make it feel chic, and look really good. And then send me a little picture. I want to see us all in our Jenny Kain pieces so we can just live our best, most glorious, and chic lives together in Jenny Kain. JennyKain.com/almost30. Use code almost30 for 15% off.
Do you experience yourself differently in relationship now, whether it's romantic or even friendship? Like, yeah, I'm just curious.
Yes. Ooh. Okay. So now, okay, let's get into this now. Okay. Look, girl,
because that's part of. Sorry, I just want to add.
Yes.
That's what I've experienced in my life is kind of the same feeling of identities dying, where like, you know, I identified as this type of person in relationship for so long. And then I found that like when I reconnected with my person, I was like, oh, a lot of that has to die actually. And I have to come a little bit closer to who I really am. Yes. And it's like, that sounds amazing, but it's actually really hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And I think for me, like, okay, so we'll talk about romantic love first, right? Which is that I think I'm just more exacting. I'm not as cool with the bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Which
I see you as someone, this is my perception. I'm meeting you for the first time today. I would think you've always been like that.
Yeah.
But that's just my perception.
But not really. You know?
I love
not
that you're
really.
saying that. Yeah.
I think especially in love, right? You feel like you should accommodate.
Sure.
Because isn't that what love is? You know, aren't you supposed to accommodate another person? But I have found that that's actually not true. That you have to be wholly yourself in order for the other person to love you wholly. If you accommodate, you're only giving a little bit of yourself because somewhere along the line you've left a part of yourself. So the person is only loving half of you. Gosh, did we ever think about that? So it's like, yes, when I'm full and of myself and I'm like, okay, like here I am with all my things, you know, and I'm uncompromising in that, in who I am and how I represent myself, then it is better love because I'm being fully loved versus trying to accommodate and therefore leaving a part of myself. Then I'm only halfway loved. And so I am less accommodating to anybody who's not willing to fully love me as wholly me. And in maternal love, I mean, I think that this is a little cliche that everybody's like, oh yes, I love my children. I'm amazing. Love it. But come on, let's be serious. You know, it's tough. It's a tough job. And sometimes you just don't want to do it. And with Lael, it has been, so again, such a gift because I had to fight for this. You know, I had to fight to be her mom. And so in those moments where I am frustrated and I'm tired, especially as a single mom, oof, Lord, I think about that, you know, and I think about the fact that like, man, I had to fight for this. Like I'm, even in the tough parts, because nobody said motherhood was just easy, you know? It's not all just baked cookies and fun bubble baths, you know? Sometimes they shit on you. And you got to clean it up, you know? So I am, in both ways, I think I am more appreciative of who I am in the position and the type of person I am. I don't pretend to be a different mother than I am. You know? Ooh, Lael will tell you that. She'll tell you that in a heartbeat.
Why? What will she say?
Oh, man. She knows the things I will do and won't do. Okay? Because that's the kind of mom I am. No.
Totally.
I'm not watching the kids' movies.
I'm obsessed.
Get out of here. I'm not doing it.
Frozen? No.
Oh, no! Get out. I'm not doing it. You know, I already told her, I was like, girl, you better hurry up and grow up so I can move to Paris. Hurry up. It's taking too long. How long do we have to 18? What's going on? How many years left?
I love.
Wait, last night she came home and she told me that Lael's 13, right?
Oh.
It's actually such a wonderful age.
That's
I
fun.
love her. I love her.
Oh.
She's just like,
She's cool.
you know,
Yeah, she's
like honestly, if she wasn't my kid, like I really would want her to be my friend. Like I really like her as a person. So she came home and she told me that one of her friends, one of her best friends now, she's at a new school. Okay. Well, she's been there now. This is her second year there. And so she comes home and she's just like, Zoe said that her mom said she should go off to boarding school so she could go to Paris. And I was like, really? I was like, where's Zoe's mom's number? Give me Zoe's mom's number. Maybe y'all two can go off to boarding school together. Okay, that'll solve everything. and she really took me seriously because she knows.
She
okay,
knows.
Look, mommy's out here. Mommy's ready for you to grow up so I can move out and go do something else.
I love it. Well, I think that realness and honesty, you know, with your daughter is such a beautiful thing to think about, like what you're teaching her, you know, like where I think kids are so sensitive and perceptive that like I definitely can feel like I knew when my parents were overextending and over accommodating to us and sacrificing really their mental and physical and whatever emotional well-being, and that didn't feel good to me.
Wow.
So like you expressing and doing your thing actually feels like such a power move as a mom, and like actually very much serving your daughter. You know?
Thank you for
I just
saying
think
that.
the play, just being playful and joking is everything.
Oh yeah.
You know, just
Yeah.
being like, oh, it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
Just like is, you know, because we have this idea that parents need to be like, I love you so much.
Exactly.
No matter what. Never move out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay,
literally.
smother me, please.
Yeah,
and smother
like,
you. No.
Just like
me
that
space.
kind of idea.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
literally.
Like
give me space over the ocean.
you're individuating, I'm individuating. We're like, we are being our own people.
Yeah.
In motherhood, with, you know, the transitions that you've gone through with grief, and then even in work, how have you navigated that? Because someone's watching.
Ooh.
You know.
Yes. Ooh, we're gonna get into this now.
Yes.
This is that's a real deep place. Oh God, it's like the worst, man. I have to tell you.
Yeah.
Like this thing is so hard. I won't name names, but I'm on this board, and this morning we had a board meeting, and one of the women who runs the marketing communications for the company that I'm on the board for announced that she was retiring, or not retiring, was leaving. And, you know, I wrote it on the side, and you was just like, you know, I was just like, gosh, I forget it, because the board meetings are hard, right? I've been to board, you know, you have to present. It's like really tough. And then you got to say you resign. Blah, blah. So I already know, and I'm like, hey, you know, it's like, I just want to tell you, like, you're a great executive. Like, I'm so happy for you, whatever you're doing next, you know, great. And she wrote back and she said she's resigning because she wants to start a family. And it just hit me because I was just like, damn, so you have to leave your job so you can do that? You know, and what that means for us as women, having to make that choice. You know, Serena Williams, who's also a friend, right? She retired, sort of, right? Because she wants more in her family. And so that choice that we have to make, not just to start a family, but to maintain a family. And as I think everybody knows, if you're in the C-suite, you are giving everything that you have. And so, yes, of course, there are more men in the boardrooms because they can. Of course, there are not more women there because, look, if you're going to give everything there and you also got to give it at home, how many people have the strength to do that? And how long can you do that? I'll give you an example of how ridiculous the situation is. When we moved to LA, I took a new job 3 months after Peter had died, which was to run marketing for Beats Music. It was called at the time. It was off of Beats Electronics. So Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre had asked me to run marketing. I really, in full transparency, I needed to run. You know, I needed to just throw myself in something else. So I won't pretend bravery. I won't pretend smarts. I just need to run away. And so I was like, yes, I'll leave New York and go to LA as far away as possible and do something else. And I moved Lael here in June. At the same time, so listen to this damn story. At the same time, we were being acquired by Apple. So as head of the marketing, Apple was definitely interested in Beats for the music streaming service, because of course that would become Apple Music. I was negotiating my continuation because Apple was going to acquire the company, and therefore I was also going to be absorbed into Apple. Also at the same time, sort of staging a semi-coup because I was going to also take over iTunes. And I was moving Lael here and also still dealing with grief, a new widow of 6 months. The office for Beats is based in Los Angeles, and Apple is based in Cupertino, which is about a 45-minute flight. As a marketer, it is very hard to operate in a company that is full of engineers. And so I knew that I needed to be in front of people. And of course, let's say it, I'm Black and I'm a woman. And that even meant that I had to do that more, right? Because otherwise you get dismissed, there's miscommunication, people think you're not into it, they don't understand you, all the things. You have to be in person to feel people, to talk to people, look at them in the eye, go by their desk, ask about their kids. You have to do all of that.
Yep.
So I decided that I would do it all. I would go up to Cupertino every day. And that didn't mean that I would spend the night there. I meant every day. So I worked it out with the nuns who were at Lael's school, because she was in a Catholic school. I would drop her off at 7:30. I would run to LAX, make an 8:20 a.m. flight. I could walk into a meeting at 10 a.m. I'd work all day, catch the 6:20 p.m. flight back home, walk in my door at 8 p.m. Lael's bedtime was 8:30. I did that every day.
Oh my God.
Every day, 5 days a week for 2 years. Wow. And that is the choice I had to make in order to be both a mom who didn't feel the guilt of being separated, because I certainly had colleagues who were doing the LA Cupertino thing, but would be up from, Monday morning through Thursday night. My boss was one of those people. His family lived in LA and he had an apartment in Cupertino, and he would do that. He would talk about how tired he was. And I would say, oh man, just drink more coffee, and have that stupid smile on my face, because I was like, I do this every day. I go up and down the coast every single day. And to me, it is the challenge of making the decision that is what you want to do, and then finding ways to forgive yourself when you're not present for the things. It was sort of at the end of the 2 years that we were getting to a really good place with Apple Music. I was actually just about to present the second iteration of Apple Music, which the first one bombed, to the world. That was another big moment, right? On the Apple keynote stage was going to be a big deal. First Black person to ever be on that stage. By the way, another story over that. Okay, all that situation. That was a whole nother situation. Anyway, so that was about to be a moment, and I took Lael to school, and because the keynote was coming up and I was rehearsing for it. I took her to school. It was her first day, and all the parents were invited to stay for the first day, but I could not because I had to get on the plane at 8:20. And I remember being like at her desk and taking out her little things, and she's over in the corner talking to her little group of friends over here, holding back the tears because I knew I had to go. And all the other parents were like taking their time. They're having their little croissants and coffee. I'm just trying to arrange my things quickly, so I can leave and sneak out the side. And I heard her in conversation, and one of the little kids was like, so did you see my mom? And Lael was like, yes, my mom's over there, and she has to. And she's like, she has to leave. And my stomach, just everything dropped, because I was just like, oh man, I don't want her to feel like I'm abandoning her when all these other kids. And then she continued. She was like, because she has a very big presentation, and I cannot wait to see it. I'm so excited. And her little voice and the little excitement. And it was so wild to me. Like, she remembers that, by the way. And it was wild to me because I was just like, this is a different relationship. This is not the same as everybody else. And if I try to compare myself to everybody else, I'm going to come up short. But what am I doing differently that is actually going to make this experience great for her? Why does different have to be bad? It doesn't have to be bad. So if in my choices as a mother, I do things that are different from what the standard is supposed to be, it doesn't have to be bad. And I had to forgive myself for the picture of perfection that has been painted for me, and set that aside, throw it out, and say, you know what? I'm not going to do that. It doesn't mean I'm a bad mom. Instead, I'm going to replace it with this thing. And this thing that I'm going to build, not because somebody built it for me, I am going to build, it's going to be great. And other people are going to copy it. That's what I'm going to do. And so that moment with Lael is what gave me courage to keep doing it my way. And she was in kindergarten.
Wow.
Like, it just changed everything for me. And I've never looked back from that. There have obviously been times over the years where I have felt like, oh man, I missed this or missed that. But we are in such great agreement, she and I, over the things that I cannot miss. That I don't feel guilty about things I do.
Yep.
And that means I've had to change my perspective on her voice in our household. What it means. Like, I don't just tell her what to do. We talk about the things to do. You know, it's a different relationship in my house. Mm-hmm. And it's not that, like, you know, nobody knows who the parent is. I'm still the mama in the house. But she does have a powerful voice in our house. Mm-hmm. And so when she says, this thing is important to me, I need you to be there. Man, there had to be the whole world had turned over in order for me not to be there. Yeah. If she says I have to. But she knows when to call in and when not to.
That's so important. Mm-hmm. And that's like with being even joking, when you're joking, that's honesty and truth. And it's like, that is being able to be honest and true. You know, because a lot of times parents and kids, it's like they're not being fully honest and true.
Yeah.
Parents are like, I really want to come, or and they don't, or they, you know, it's not a priority for them. But being able to be, and this is any relationship, be like, hey, actually this really matters.
Yeah.
And being okay to ask, being comfortable to ask is huge. You know, something that you mentioned about the journey was being in the office and having FaceTime with people in this role and being able to ask people how their kids are and everything like that. And I'm curious what you think about this. Like, do you feel like that because you're a Black woman that you had to do that even more than if you were just like a white man in the role?
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Everything I do as a Black woman, I have to do extra, for sure. And look, that before in the beginning made me very angry, very, very bitter about it. And I won't pretend like it was like a jolly thing where I'm just like, oh, you know what? I'll do extra work just because I'm Black. No. And I'm still pissed off about it. And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, of course, it's a trope of being the angry Black woman. And so sometimes you shy away from expressing your anger. But I think we should all be angry.
That's an interesting
we
corner.
We should all be shocked that has to be. You know, but I also realized and had to come to terms with the fact that it is true. You know, that's sometimes what holds us back from our own greatness, is that we're so mad at the thing for the way it is that we don't think about how to use it to our advantage.
Say more about the advantage.
Well, the advantage is that I have to go door to door, knock, say hi, make people feel comfortable with me. The advantage in that is that I know everyone. I know everything that I need to know in order to move the way I need to move. Sometimes I feel like white men get encumbered because they don't have to do that.
Totally.
And so they'll step up and fall and stumble and just like, ooh, God, he fell down, Elon. You know what I'm saying? And then you're like, well, yeah, because he didn't have to go door to door. He didn't have to ask you how you're doing. He didn't have to shake your hand. He didn't have to look. And look, sometimes it's the basic things. My outfits, okay? The way I dress in my Blackness. Today, I'm wearing a colorful African print. Let me just describe my outfit with a beautiful denim jacket.
Amazing earrings.
You got incredible. Thank you. Incredible earrings. I'm not wearing any kind of like little diamond studs. No, okay? But in an office setting, that causes problems.
Isn't that wild?
It is wild. And we should all be upset about that. But we're not.
So wild.
Instead, we're like, look at that weirdo. You know, and so yes, it meant that early on, and this was a true story. Everyone who worked with me at Pepsi will tell you that I would do this. Okay, I would walk around the office, spend my first 15 minutes just walking around, just letting people see my outfit. Just look at me, get your whole fill, so you don't have to talk about me later. Okay, if I'm wearing tight ass leather pants and you can see my whole booty, just go ahead and look. Okay, get your whole fill in. So you don't have to talk about me. No,
I love it.
You have to look at me and talk about me when you're at the coffee break. Okay? Just go ahead, do it. Look, it's right here. You don't have to walk by my desk and see, oh, did you see that? No, you saw it because I walked around. Okay? And yes, in that walking around, I became the mayor. You know?
I love it, yeah.
Because I'm asking about your babies, and I'm asking about what's on your desk and what you have for dinner and what did you do over the weekend, and oh, is your mom all right? You know, I did all of that. And people see you then as a person. And I know that sounds strange, but yes, in the corporate setting, there are tropes and there are stereotypes, and I didn't want to be that. And the only way to get around that is for people to see me, which meant that I had to see them. And so that's what I did.
Yeah. Wow. I want to pivot a little bit to this concept of urgency. Obviously related to the book, but when I hear the word urgency, I'm like, there's a quickness and it feels like a pace to me. It feels, it just feels reactive. But I know that this is a much deeper exploration of the word and concept. So I would love to talk about urgency from your perspective.
Yes. Well, I feel urgent for many reasons. Some of them obvious. And yes, some of it about pace. But I did choose that word very carefully because I wanted to be intentional with the idea of urgency. Urgency isn't complete if it's just about running fast. It's like you can't just go fast at something. You'll probably miss your target. Like if you go fast and you have a purpose in mind and you're saying, I'm going to run there, you're probably going to make it. If you just like running and willy-nilly, just eyes up in the sky with your hands up, running fast, you're going to miss. You're going to shoot past it. Maybe you're not even going to make it there. And so it's a combination of time and intention. So yes, do I believe that we should do things right now? Because time is short? Absolutely. 100%. If you were doing something you don't want to do, if you're with somebody you don't want to be with, if you're in a job you don't like, if you want to do that thing when you retire next year, if at the beginning of the pandemic you'll say, I'll do this thing when everything goes back normal, do that shit right now. It's about time. It is also about intention. Why do you want to do that thing? What is about that thing that makes you want to do that? Have you explored that? And then why are you putting it off? If you're asking those two questions, then you're fulfilling urgency. And so for me, it's like everything in my life now has that filter on it. It's like, why did I want to write the book now? Yeah, because my story was like bubbling over. It was sitting inside. It needed to come outside. Even though people have been asking me to write it for a long time, it didn't feel ready. And then one day I was like, oh, okay, it is right now. And instead of putting it off, because it was at the beginning of the pandemic. Can you imagine? That's when I got my book deal.
Wow.
Like right before. And then I decided to write my book anyway, instead of waiting. Because like I knew that whatever I was feeling at that very moment, it needed to come out. Like if I waited, like what if it went away? So urgency is that fulfillment of those two questions. It's like, what is it that you want to do and why are you not doing it? And then why do you want to do it? If you answer both of those things, you probably will understand your urgency better in your own life.
I'd love to close with a question about, the journey here. It's like for the women that are listening that have that soul desire to slow down and to strip away and to really find out who they are and get comfortable with themselves. What would you say about this process? Really getting to know the true soul essence of you and not the ego. Yeah. How has that felt?
Yeah, that's a really big question too. Because to some degree, this is about intuition. We already know. That doesn't feel like the right answer, but yes. We already know. 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 We're just hiding from it. Or we're talking to ourselves differently about it. And you're trying to convince yourself otherwise about it. We already know. And so this idea that you should go find it elsewhere, that you should follow some pattern that somebody has laid out for you. You should write the pro and con list. You should write the 5-year plan. Those are all lies. They're covers for what is already there. It really is. And so the work is not so much about finding it externally or like understanding what the process is going to be, but really understanding that it already exists. And so all you have to do is pay attention. It is there. You know, maybe you feel like it's that little voice in the back of your head somewhere that keeps whispering. You don't need medication. It's you, you know? Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's very, very loud and you're trying to cover it with something else. You know, maybe this is the sign. Maybe this is what you needed to hear to tell you that you should listen to that thing. You know, if you haven't been already, this is the time, like right now, to do it and act on it. You know, the amazing thing about intuition and like the voice and the spirit, which I have found, oh my gosh, it's like such a wonderful thing, is that it's really your friend. You know, sometimes we know that inner voice and we feel afraid of it and we try to quiet it and we're like, shut the hell up. You know, and we're a little afraid of it because it's telling the truth and you don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? So you get pissed off at it. Sure. He's like, would you shut up? I'm having a perfectly good life. And then you over here trying to ruin it. You know?
It's true. Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that it's like really your friend. And the more you listen, the more you act, the stronger it becomes. And that strength is incredible. It will give you power when you don't feel like you have it. You know, that idea of intuition, it is part of the hand I held when it was time for me to release my job. Was knowing that like that voice was like, girl, you gotta go. And I was like, okay, hold on, let me grab my purse. Hold on 1 second. Hold my hand though, because I'm scared. You know what I mean? Like, so this is the sign. Mm-hmm. This is the sign. None of us are accidental. You're not listening to this accidentally. We're not in this room accidentally. Mm-hmm. All of us are in purpose. Mm-hmm. And so this is it. This is the sign.
So true. Thank you.
This was so amazing.
No,
this was
so thankful.
So
this
Thank
was incredible. It was so much fun. I'm so grateful.
Oh,
I can't wait to read the book.
I am so grateful for you.
I cannot wait.
Really,
truly,
for allowing me the space. You know, this is heavy, and you know, you provide such a light space to be able to put it on the table and not be afraid to say the word. So I thank you for creating this space. What a gift that you're also giving. So I appreciate it very much.
Not every interview will be this good. So just remember this moment. Sorry to start you off in this way.
Girl, okay, the bar is set high.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, so you're so he died. Okay. Oh wow, yeah.
Exactly.
Next question.
I'm like, where is the pink room?
Yeah, honestly.
The mauve.
Yes. You're like, where's the womb?
Exactly. Yes, give me the womb.
Thank you, thank you. We love you guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Boz. We really appreciate you coming into the studio. Again, the book is The Urgent Life, and we appreciate you sharing this with a friend. If you found this inspiring, if you found this insightful, if you found this fun or interesting or deep, we love when you share our episodes with friends.
Yeah, we love you. And be sure to check out our new podcast, Morning Microdose. These are clips that come out Monday through Friday. You can start your morning, set the tone for the day with inspiring, funny, very insightful clips from the Almost 30 podcast. And we're excited to hear what you think.
Yeah, we love you guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.